This doesn't work.
There's a river in me, and it pushes my feet in uncertain forward motion. There's an ocean in me, and it won't let me sink, but it's drawing me out, wash away my self-doubt. Yeah. I wrote that. I gotta say my favorite part of that is it pushes my feet in uncertain forward motion, because I think that's how I live life most of the time, you know? It's just like, I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen. Sometimes I have like a very sharp vision, but even in that, you're never sure like, you know, what's gonna come to fruition. But it's important to keep moving forward. So my full name is Cecily Alexa Bumbray, and my stage name is Cecily. Almost every time someone says my name, or reads my name, they say Cecily, because it's a more well-known name because of Cecily Tyson, but my parents chose to name me Cecily. My last name, Bumbray, is actually an Americanized version of the British name Bunbury. And everyone you find in this whole world named Bumbray is Black American and has roots in Virginia. So anytime I meet a Bumbray, I know we're related some way, somehow. Yeah. So I'm originally from DC, and I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister. Yeah. I'm the baby. I went to Elizabeth Seton High School, that's in Bladensburg, Maryland. It's a Catholic girls' school. Yeah, and that's when I really started singing more, because I was in the gospel choir. I was the co-director of the gospel choir, and I was also in the chorus and in the concert choir. So that was a lot of fun. And then in college, I went to Strathmore College, which is outside of Philadelphia. And there, I actually got my degree in political science and Black studies. I started singing around the age of 12 or 13. I started taking voice lessons, and around the same time in 8th grade, I took a class that was a geography course, but we talked a lot about kind of international development work. And I became really, really interested in that at the thought of somehow being able to help people that lived in poverty, and really abject poverty. And so I decided at age 13 that I wanted to be a diplomat, and I wanted to, you know, work for, you know, NGOs or nonprofits, or I really wanted to work at the United Nations. That was my focus. I was like, I'm gonna work at the United Nations. I studied French for many, many years, because the 2 official languages of the UN are English and French. So I was like, I'm gonna learn English and French, and then I'm gonna go do work in West Africa, and I'm gonna study, you know, I'm gonna be able to speak both English and French, which are the 2, you know, most spoken languages, colonial languages in West Africa. And, but the whole time that I was kind of focused on this, you know, I'm gonna be a diplomat, and I'm gonna go into, you know, development work. I was always singing, you know, through high school, through college. Most of my extracurriculars were singing. I always took voice lessons. I was always in like a million different choirs and groups. And yeah, I guess it was my sophomore, junior year in college, I realized that I didn't want to go into development world, because I got really disillusioned with the industry as a whole. And so I realized my passion had always been singing, so I decided to just follow that path. And I'm happy that I did. So yeah, I studied at the Peabody Institute, which is basically the music school of Johns Hopkins University, and I took classes from a teacher at Peabody when I was in high school. So I took classes with, her name is Alina Kozinska, and I studied classical voice with her for about 3 years when I was in high school. Yeah, and that was really great training. I mean, and just in terms of, I learned a lot about bringing emotion to a song. I learned a lot about breath control. I learned a lot about enunciation. I learned a lot about performance and, you know, very authentic performance, something that doesn't feel fake. And it was a great experience, yeah. I loved it. I think the first performance when I felt very much in my purpose and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, there was a few. In my final semester in college, like the last few weeks of school, I decided to host a show. And so I did it in like this outdoor courtyard at my school, and I had a few of my friends perform. One of my friends is also a singer-songwriter, and then another one of my friends who does comedy. And I had a few other things. I had some spoken word, and I ended the show by performing some of my songs, including some originals that I wrote. And it was just a lot of fun, and I got really good feedback. It was a lot of work. I had to rent the sound equipment and set everything up, and I had to get approval from, you know, the school and approval to use the space, and then I had to advertise, and, you know, so I feel like I really got a taste of what it takes to be an independent musician and that, you know, just for that little show at school, but it made me feel like, okay, I can do this. So I have opened for Kenny Lattimore, Gregory Porter, Bilal, Johnny Gill, Sugar Baron EU, Elle Varner. I've collaborated with some artists such as Kenny Wesley and Aaron Abernathy, the group Columbia Nights, Diggs Duke, Drew Kidd. These are some folks I met in the DC scene. Yeah, DC is an amazing music city. I'm Cecily, and you're watching Beyond the Lyrics. I love Corinne Bailey Rae and Gregory Porter. Definitely, I love him. I would just love to know more about their process. Yeah, their process, yeah. Because even like Gregory Porter, I just am so captivated by his lyrics. And they're kind of like poetry, you know? And I would just love to know more about his process in terms of songwriting, because I think it's really amazing, because he's able to tell stories in a way that most people aren't. And he also talks about things in songwriting that most people don't, like, you know, homeless people that you see, you know, sleeping in an alleyway, or, you know, how it feels when you're in a new relationship and you're just feeling like, you know, I'm declaring that this is gonna last, this is gonna be forever. I don't know, he just has a great way with words, and I would love to just sit and talk to him some more about his process. That would be great. But there's so many people I love. I mean, I love Michelle Ndigachelo. I just saw her recently at the Kennedy Center. She's awesome. There's so many amazing people. I have performed at the Kennedy Center, yeah. I performed at the Millennium Stage, and I've also performed the conference I did that had Christian Scott and Lay the Hathaway on it was also at the Kennedy Center, so that was awesome. There's a river in me, and it pushes my feet in uncertain forward motion. There's an ocean in me, and it won't let me sink, but it's drawing me out, wash away my self-doubt. Yeah. I wrote that. I gotta say my favorite part of that is it pushes my feet in uncertain forward motion, because I think that's how I live life most of the time, you know? It's just like, I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen. Sometimes I have like a very sharp vision, but even in that, you're never sure like, you know, what's gonna come to fruition. But it's important to keep moving forward. And I think I wrote that song and those lyrics in particular, just about that inner force that's hard to put your finger on, but always keeps you going. And everybody has that in some form or fashion. Everyone has that little voice, you know, that says, just keep going. Just do it. You know what you gotta do. Just do it, you know. And I think also that final lyric, wash away my self-doubt. It's like sometimes you do feel like, you know, have all these emotions in you, you know. There's an ocean. But you're not sinking somehow.
All right.
And so hopefully through that process of getting to know yourself, you know, getting to know that inner strength, whatever it is that keeps you buoyed, that you're able to release that self-doubt, because it can be really crippling. It can make things that should be simple be difficult, self-doubt. And so I feel like as we grow as human beings and each on our own path, that's really part of the journey, is to figure out a way to not necessarily silence that voice, you know, that doubt, but to understand that you are not that thought. You know, you're not that thought pattern, and you don't have to be. You don't have to feel like you're a victim of that thought pattern, that the power is really in your own hands.
Well, that framing.
Yeah.
There's a river in me, and it pushes my feet in uncertain forward motion. There's an ocean in me, but it won't let me sink, but it's drawing me out, wash away my self-doubt.
I'm Cecily, and you're watching Beyond the Lyrics.
It's the real thing, and you're wrong. I can't help but treasure our bond. 'Cause when I look in your eyes, I find all that I need, and more than I thought I deserve. And with your hand in mine, I know we'll always succeed, 'cause we're willing to grow and to learn. Yes, we've got love, baby, ain't nothing less. I know this is love, baby, we passed the test. Through all those hard times, we kept holding on.
Yes, I am a Strathmore Artist in Residence, and I just had my final Strathmore Artist in Residence concert last night on May 23rd, and it was awesome. Yeah. So the way the Strathmore residency works is that it's a 9-month program for 6 musicians DMV-based musicians. And basically, we go to workshops and seminars at the Strathmore that teach us about different elements of music business. And we've had things from how to work with a manager, to how to work with a producer, to how to do your taxes, to how to book a tour. You know, just very, very practical things that they don't teach you in music school and that you can learn through books, but it's always even more amazing to have a mentor right there in front of you who you can ask these direct questions to. So that part of the process is really invaluable in my opinion. And then also as a part of it, each artist has a month where they do 2 public concerts, a private concert, and a workshop. So you basically have something every week. So my month was May. So my first public concert was my album release show, which was amazing. And then I did my workshop, which was called Singing for Healing. And that was really amazing too, because it was kind of a new experience for me. I was kind of trying out this workshop. Well, basically I led people through meditation, breathing, and vocalizing exercises to basically bring them some relaxation, detach from their own self-judgment, and just try to be in the moment and enjoy all the beautiful things that your body can give you through breath, right? And through vocalizing, because those vibrations can be really healing. So that was really amazing, and I'm looking forward to doing that more in different locations and for different types of people. And my last show was last night, in which I premiered a new commissioned piece, because part of your last show you have to do a commission piece. So I premiered a song that I wrote about my husband, which I might release later this year. We'll see. Yeah. My husband's name is Tirop. Yeah. It's a fun game. How well do I know my own lyrics? So the album Songs of Love and Freedom, sonically, I really pulled from the music that I listened to growing up, that my parents listened to when I was growing up, basically. Because when you're young, you don't get to choose music. You listen to whatever they put on. And some of my favorites were, my mom played a lot of Minnie Riperton. Both my parents loved Terry Collier, and they both loved Gil Scott-Heron. And we used to listen to the Isley Brothers. Isley Brothers are one of my favorite groups of all time. Listen to, you know, Phyllis Hyman, a lot of Norman Connor's work. So I pulled from a lot of that. That's kind of what I went back to in terms of trying to create that sonic texture that I wanted, you know, in terms of how I want my voice to sound. Like I recorded on a vintage tube mic that's from the 60s because I wanted to have that sound, you know. And then in terms of the arrangement and the instrumentation choices, they're definitely based on like mid-70s R&B in terms of the Rhodes piano and having the, you know, the orchestration with the violin lines, and definitely took like some ideas for the flute solos from some of Gil Scott-Heron's work with Brian Jackson, and you know, the percussion element of it took from some Norman Connor's songs, and you know, so it was very specific in that way. And I work with the producers to kind of pull out all of those textures that I really wanted in the music. So, and that process was a lot of fun. Well, he wrote the music. He wrote the chord progressions. I wrote the lyrics and the melody, yeah. So yeah, Can You Feel It, I wrote with Zach. and Zach Cutler, who's like a brother to me. He's awesome. And I love that song because it really does, it brings me some peace too, you know? It makes me feel good as well. And that was a song that I definitely sonically pulled from Terry Collier's album, What Color Is Love, because I love the way that he blends folk music and soul music. And that's what I wanted to do on that song in particular. And I think we pulled it off, and I love that song too.
There's a point when you stop, when you know you're no longer alone. There's a time when your breath and the breeze become one.
Yeah. So Don't Hide the Sun, I co-wrote with Aaron Abernathy, who's a beast. And he had a track that he had already put together like 4 years ago. And, you know, I told him I was making the album, so he sent me some stuff. And that was one of the ones I really liked. And so I just love the way the Wurlitzer sound at the beginning. And so I kind of just looped it on my computer and started writing. And I had a poem actually that I had written like a year before when I was in London. And so I took that poem and I kind of just adapted it to fit the music and wrote some new lyrics here and there. And yeah, I love that one. I love that one a lot, yeah. Yeah, Song for Bobby Smith is the only cover on the album, the only cover song. And it's a Gil Scott-Heron song. It's from his album, it's from his album Winter in America, which is one of my favorite albums in the world. It came out in 1974. Fun fact, almost all my favorite albums came out between 1973 and 1977. So I love that album. And I knew I wanted to include that song because it just brings me so much peace. And he talks about freedom and he talks about love and he does it in like the most human way possible. And so I decided to include that song on the project, and I was kind of intimidated to cover it because, you know, to me it's a classic and it's perfect how it is. I didn't want to do too much. And so me and my friend Drew Kidd, who plays on that song, and he also wrote the interludes that are on the album. He's also like a huge fan of Gil Scott-Heron and of that song in particular. And so I knew the two of us together would give it the intention and kind of the delicate hand that it needed, and the soulfulness that it brings forth would be there with us doing it. And I think that it came together, and I'm happy with it, yeah. Yeah. Your idea of beautiful. So that lyric, craving the depth of your voice and the spirit in your hands. You know what, this song is really personal. And the first time I performed it live was so nerve-wracking because it is really personal. I wrote it about a man that I kind of dated, not really, for, you know, on and off for a while. And he didn't live, like he lived in a different state and he was always traveling. He's a traveling musician. And so I just always felt like, I don't know, like I wanted more from him that he wasn't able to give, you know? So in that second verse, I say, you know, 2 months till I see you again, and I'm still willing to let you in. I've been craving the depth of your voice and the spirit in your hands. And yeah, it's really about him. He has a deep voice and he's a piano player, so he just has a lot of spirit in his hands. Yeah, it's just wanting to be something to somebody that, you know, maybe you can't, and that's okay. And the rest of the album is to let you know that that's okay. Yeah.
Just wanna be beautiful.
can find me, I'm on Instagram a lot. You can find me on Instagram at Cecily Alexa, also on Twitter at Cecily Alexa, and I'm also on Facebook at Cecily Music. I'm also on Tumblr, also as Cecily Music, and my website is cecilymusic.com. Yeah. Yeah, at the beginning of Grow, that's live strings. All the strings on the project are live, and they were all recorded by Vaughn Williman Bradley on violin and Nika Lynn on cello. Two black women, woo-hoo. No, I'm definitely looking at it like that. I mean, to put the money into doing a full album, you know, it takes a lot of cash. It takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of attention. And I did that with a goal in mind because I wanted to put something out that would really make a statement. Because I've known for a while that I'm a really strong live performer. And I know that because of how people respond to me, you know, after the show and during the show, and because of how I feel in the moment on stage. But I know to really leave an impact, you have to have equally strong studio recordings that people can take home with them and can enjoy forever, you know, and that feel timeless for them. And so that's really what I was trying to do, is to just make that statement of who I am and, you know, who I want to be for my audience. I really want to be an artist who can bring them some peace, bring them some healing, and just bring them some good vibes, you know, because there's a lot of BS in the world, and sometimes you need a moment to, yeah. So I hope my album can do that for people. That's good? Cool. Thank you, guys. That was nice and easy.